yes.
to sort the health. No, it's not that way. It's just they are covered. Of course, we may have 100%, but the wider coverage of their health is from their own pockets. Yeah, but it's not 80% from their economy. Oh, it's all going to the health. No, they do have, of course, a lot going. Exactly. But they also have with the initial donations, they still have the donations of the supplies, the initial supplies from the different drugs, especially lenacapavir. They have. They also got grants, so they have some of the grants that have been, of course, sent by the greater economies, that is majorly the United States. Yeah, and their distribution is going to start this month. It's starting in April. Yeah, it's the distribution of lenacapavir starting in April. But even in Uganda, I'm sure you've seen the posters. Lenacapavir is there, and it's also it's also in circulation. So it's for the fight against HIV/AIDS. Maybe we could actually see it come to an end, because there is for Uganda, I think we have having eliminated HIV/AIDS by 2030, and we are very close to 20. Is it 2040? It's either 2040, right?
Yes.
Exactly. It's either 2040 or 2030. I think that's what the goal is. But for South Africa, the fact that it used to represent HIV, but now they have strategies and reforms to fight it as a state, covering 80%. That is very good for Africa, honestly.
And by the way, this is also a caution to the people of South Africa. Health is not also so much determined by what is funded. It is taking care of your life. You shouldn't go in for such activities because you're going to be cared of, you're going to be well observed, and things are going to go on. You should be cautious because you may do it as a guarantee, since things are going to be doing on well.
But most people, of course, no one would want to get HIV on their ward. So most times there is rape, there is a lot of activities that go on.
Yes, but
there is, of course, those that get it out of ignorance, not knowing what is supposed to be done, and that one is where it is really bad. Like when you get it out of ignorance, you have yourself to blame, because it wasn't really all you had to do is maybe abstain or use protection. But there are people. HIV is crazy, and for South Africa there is a lot of insecurities, there is a lot of raping. So when you see all these crimes happening, trust me, most of the times it's because of how insecure the country is. Yeah, but with the funding of 80% of their health, that is an achievement by South Africa, and majorly that's what we had in our own in Africa segment. So we are in our next story, that is we are going to be moving back to Jerusalem. When I talk about that, it's reflect. I feel like I'm talking about the Bible. I'm going into the Bible, but Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, standing as a witness. He was cancelled from standing in court. He has been facing cases that involve bribery and then a breach of trust. He has had quite a number of cases that he has been facing for years, and this makes him the first prime minister to be charged while in power in Israel. It has made him, but they've continuously been chased. His cases have continuously been prolonged. They started in I believe 2020. They've continuously been prolonged because of the fact that he's in power, and then the fact that he has a national duty. So those are the excuses that have always been given for his cases to not be worked upon. So the Jerusalem court cancelled his Benjamin Netanyahu's testimony in corruption trial over security concerns, and the court in Jerusalem also agreed to cancel that testimony by Prime Minister in his ongoing corruption trial this week, marking the latest delay in this case that has stretched on for a period of years, and regional instability. So according to our local media back in Jerusalem, the Jerusalem District Court accepted a request from Netanyahu's legal team, who urged that security and diplomatic considerations prevented the Israel Prime Minister from appearing in court as scheduled, according to local media. So that means it is his team. I was not stopped. It is his team, who argued that, he had security and diplomatic considerations that prevented him from appearing in court. So you see, continue. So it's exactly, it has been delayed for a long period of years, and we do know, honestly, what does this speak about power, being in power, and the judicial system? Because most times the judicial system is supposed to be an independent body. It works on its own. That's why we have this statement that says no one is above the law. Exactly. But we have a leader whose case has continuously been continuously extended. Of course, his legal team always has something, the witness, maybe, continuously for years now. And the cases he's facing, of course, are not light. The case began in 2020. It centers of charges of bribery, fraud, breach of trust tied to his relationships with wealthy businessmen and media executives, and the consistent, of course, he denied the allegations. It's rare to find a thief who says I'm a thief. But with this, what does this speak about the judicial system, honestly, together with politics?
Okay, so indeed, like you say, they rarely accept the fact that they are thieves. But then I think it gives us three. To my sum up, I think we have like three agendas here. We're looking at tensions between governance and accountability. Remember, if we're looking at now powerful individuals being questioned by the governance itself, legal terms have to intersect, because now we're questioning national security. We're looking at the nation's stability and awareness itself. So it has a lot of tensions. Remember, we have to now pull strings here and there. And two, we're looking at transparency. Remember, his postponement and delays has been so much justified as classified, and these have not been laid out to the public. So meaning the public has to accept the fact or accept the decision, whether examined or not. So we have to accept on what is going on, and later on it gives on what we call uncertainty. Even if the law is really valid, people have now benefit of doubt. They're like, why is this happening? Why don't we have clear eyes or clear touch to this? And through we having the repeated delays, because now this has become a pattern. Almost over 3 cases, and things are delaying here and there. So the delays are also now pushing onto justification. We are wondering whether now are we having law working under politics or politics working under law. It also pulls strings, even if it is legitimate. There are things now the public has to question here and there.
Yeah, it mainly looks like politics is working under law. No, the law is working under politics, actually. For most of the cases, the law is working under politics when it comes to high officials.
Yeah, high officials, yes. So we are lately questioning what is happening to the systems we are giving to power. Because to the layman, many people may not really understand how the judicial system works, because many of them are so much interested in how the legislature and executive, because that is where money, I think, is when they're into power. But then the judiciary itself now has put itself in a momentum of being questioned. And then lastly, we're looking at the accountability. Now we are questioning ourselves on what happens to powerful individuals in law. That means they can later on transit what we call their own agendas or merits to persevere what is going on in the public. So lately, even the public has to question on indeed the people that are entrusted into power. Are they working on to follow what is really governed, or on their own desires, on to satisfy what is currently happening? Because he was yet to stand on the stake this week. Now it has been postponed. Things are not clear on what really happened, on what justifications they are putting into hand on his.
Let's not even forget the fact that Benjamin Netanyahu is still the individual that's pushing. He's the individual that pushed. He influenced the conflict happening in the Middle East, because according we saw leaders, different officials in the United States getting out of power, saying resigning. We saw different people resigning, saying that at this conflict there was no major. The United States had no valid reason to attack Iran, saying it was majorly the agenda was pushed by Benjamin Netanyahu and his strong allies in the United States. So the Netanyahu has been in the news for all the bad reasons lately, and so because the major reason, this latest cancellation underscores the ongoing tension between the governance and legal accountability in Israel, as the court balances judicial continuity with what officials describe as urgent state matters. What urgent state matters he has created himself. That is the conflict, he strikes Lebanon, Lebanon strikes back, he strikes Iran, retaliates. So these are the state concerns that are driving him away, or making him very much busy not to attend his own case, court trial.
Yes.
Problems he has caused himself. So you see this as a very problematic individual, honestly, who is very problematic. Honestly, you're bringing on war in other countries. Okay. You're facing a court case that you're also pushing, you're extending because of agendas you've created yourself. Because we see United States, the fact that he had power to influence United States into a conflict that was not necessary at the first point. It wouldn't have started at the point if Netanyahu didn't influence, the United States. So we see a very problematic individual. So there is no way, there is no way that the court, the court system or the judicial system in Israel is going to be able to, to have or to fight him. Because now this is 2026. Yes, 2026. Since 2020, same cases, bribery, fraud. That's a case that a country would have sorted in a year's period. But the magnitude of the continuation and the magnitude of his position has continuously pushed this. That's the major reason that's out there. They don't even have a major excuse that matters of the states. Yeah,
we're not sure on what was postponed to the prosecutors over his delay. But to me, even if things are delayed, we're asking ourselves, can judiciary still operate in the hidden eyes of the public? Can it still operate? Do we still get justifications? Is it still right? Can the public still trust if high powerful leaders go here, we're wrong, and so much? So I think we are yet to understand on really how this trial would go on, and betterment for the public to really trust the judicial operations.
And this all takes us back to the fact that we have power. Power runs the world, because when you have power, there is that. I think I read it somewhere where it was saying that there are two things that run run the world. There is money and power. So you see how power is able to do it, because the judicial system is actually active. It does work when it is other cases. Cases that involve the common person, trust me, it will work appropriately. But when it is someone that has very much influence, we do that the case will be prolonged. But if it is to favor a certain, we've seen it in Uganda. We've seen cases being extended. We've seen now we saw with the iron sheets. We saw it was only Agnes Nanduto, but she was not the only one involved in that case. But we saw only her being charged. So it would look like she was made to look like the scapegoat. They just was like, okay, let's let this one die for us. You see, so it does not actually happen all the time. It is never, most people do say that prison has a lot of course I'm okay with the prison system. It has to be there because we really need people behind bars. There are people that are not safe if they're out.
You want to suggest otherwise on prison?
No, but what I was about to say that there is a lot of people in the prison that are very innocent. We have a lot of people in the prison cells that are very much innocent. Exactly. People who were charged, who were maybe the court, ruled that you're guilty, but they actually didn't commit the particular offenses. We do have that, and that majorly is to the law, to the person down here, the person who does not have enough means, who does not have enough support to maybe ask to a good lawyer. Because of course, according to the law, if you don't have a lawyer, they will give you, but it's how good is the lawyer.
They give you a public defender.
They give you, but it's how good is this person. So it's always there, but with the judicial system, it works, but at a certain rate when it's certain individuals involved, we do not see it always.
And I think to make it fair, if there are indeed people, innocent souls that are arrested, that are put in prison, I think to make it the balance, we could at least now put the right individuals as well, the powerful individuals, to also share that feeling of being in prison. But for your case, when you really
France did something like that. France did something like that. Yes, France did something like that. So they had a former prime minister or former president in prison. Yeah, that was last year.
To also test the fruit of being in prison,
but it never happened. Maybe even UK has done that with the Epstein files. The Prince Andrew, who was taken off all his titles and all that. It happens, but it is rarely happening. Yeah, but that's what it does. That's majorly. But with Africa, I've not really seen it happening. Maybe with Agnes Nanduto, who I still don't. I feel like the whole team had to go down, not only one individual. So, but that is what's happening from the court at trial. That's what Jerusalem's court was able to do. They cancelled his testimony because of the concerns of the state matters, and but still the court, of course, has been extended. But there is still a witness that still has to testify, and we shall be bringing you more if this trial is finally commenced and put in action. We'll be bringing you more details that come out of these offenses or these charges. We're going to be heading into our science and technology segment next. Yes, we are here with our last segment of the day, which is going to be our science and technology segment. Today in this segment, we always bring on the different achievements or the different innovations that are in the science and technology world. And today we are going to be talking about Beijing's humanoid, the Beijing's humanoid robot, and Beijing's humanoid robot and human half marathon in Beijing. Yes. So with this we saw they had a marathon, which is quite a very interesting topic. There was a marathon in Beijing. It happened over the weekend. It happened on the 19th of April. 2026. So just this weekend, where Beijing hosted a half marathon featuring humanoid robots running alongside humans. So the particular robot was called a Flash. It broke records, completing the race faster than the human world records. So these are showcases. You see Flash, just look at Flash. Flash was able to flash. He just went through and no one was. They were different, of course, they were different humanoid robots, but the particular robot, Flash, outdid the humans. And this shows how China is really taking on, this shows China's advances in robotics and AI. So we see how China is. What does this event say about other future in robotics sports? Because we have Flash being Flash. Okay, I find the Flash. I really found the Flash name funny because we know of the movie of Flash, and Flash could just pass through. Could just So we have a Flash, a humanoid robot, but back to science and technology, back to innovation, back to advances. This shows how China has been able to put itself out there with achievements. It is very strong when it comes to the technology sector. It produces they have a good, very strong weapons. They have a very good technology. We talked about they had that as spy. There is that mosquito spy spy network that had produced. Now we have a humanoid robot. In a half human marathon, of course, and we have Flash winning, taking over.
So yeah, you're right. The only psychological question here is I really want to understand, do we now find Flash getting trophies or something like that? Like at the end of the race, do we find because how do we take the accountability for this? Because remember, when humans are racing over this, we're looking at what you put in the first place, how the training, the hostile engagement, how fast you can go, and indeed, in case if you stopped, by the way, we understand that indeed that is your way to stop. But then this is a machine where it can be, I think,
exactly. It is becoming very hard because you can't compete against a machine. Honestly, if I was in that race and I just looked next to me and I saw a robot, I would sit down peacefully, because it's becoming very hard. People may look at this lightly or may perceive it lightly, but this is just a race. But they are putting us in competition with robots. These are machines that do not wear out. They do not get tired. They are not sweating. They are not panting.
That was my question.
Exactly, they are not going to wear out. And if they are to do this in the working sector as well, they start because now by putting them on the same race, that means you're comparing them. It's not like they had a different starting point. You know what? Since you're a robot, you're not going to get tired. You're going to start from a different area. No, they are they are giving them at the same starting point. So they are comparing the ability of an individual or a human to a robot. And of course, we cannot outdo the robots. So this is very alarming, by the way.
But I think the comparison should be on the fellow robots, because it could be on how efficient the other one is on the other. In the same way, you can try to compare maybe iPhone with Android or something like that. Of course, the best way the other can outcompete the other is on how this is really prepared, how it is manufactured, the component it has over the other. Because before you know it, we're even scared about our job security when we look at people the people that race for these distances. Because how the funny part is how are you really training a human? I don't know, even Bolt himself I don't know if he could race over one or two.
I don't think there is a human who would stand Flash. Maybe this other robot looks slow, but Flash, the one at the front, the red one, doesn't look like someone we can go against. Flash looks like actual Flash. Okay. So honestly, But this is speaking, of course, when it comes to technology, technology does help make our lives more comfortable. When we have more, advanced technology, it helps. We've seen smart homes. It really helps. We've seen homes, the phones, you just speak to the phone, it just helps you. So, but then there is that over-reliance that's now coming with technology. People overly rely on, some people do talk to ChatGPT, and they're like, oh, you express your emotions to ChatGPT, but this is, it's not going to have the emotions, though they are trying so much to program it like
to reflect.
To program it like that, because I've talked to it before and be like, then we could even I could just be like, I mean, like, okay, I've even never, it's very funny when someone speaks about it, but I could be like, okay, make it like, be more human in your response. So you feel.
You want that attachment.
So we have a lot of technology, it's taking over a lot. And it's at a point, it is very good, it helps with their comfort, but there is greater risk to it. It's going to reach a point when the only job maybe that can't be taken over by a robot, because we have them cleaning. We have robots that clean. I was about to say maybe dancing, but we have, if Flash is running like that, we can have a robot dancing.
The other red one disappointed you because it was slow, right?
This is the one that's slow. The red one is very much a fast.
The white one is the one that is slow.
No, Flash is the one at the front. The one who, of course, looks like Flash, because Flash's outfit is. That's Flash. That's the one who was able to win. This happened on this happened just over the weekend. So China is really up there when it comes to technology, and I think China. I think that's why it is very hard to, that's why the United States and China, that's like, they can't really, I think that's why they keep having, conflicts with each other. Because this is a very strong power economy as well, having very strong innovations, very innovative minds. But honestly, it's a great achievement. It's a great achievement.
It's a great achievement, but my question is, which other job are really robots or automatics not engaged to? I don't know which other one. Is it soccer? Is it soccer? So I don't know, because you find that. By the way, we also are journalism. They're yet to come.
They are. Trust me, they are. Oh God, they are. Trust me, they actually can do that. I think the only thing they've not been able to execute perfectly is what involves feelings, emotions. So maybe they can't take on the job of a therapist. Because people do talk to them, but of course they do not respond to you how a therapist would, because they do not understand feelings. Though they are still really, there are those that they do program to really understand human emotions, but that's one thing that they have not been able to intercept perfectly. Yeah.
And the other thing I find fascinating about it, the way it runs, it doesn't really bring out the momentum of running. I think they should add that agenda when someone, because the body, I don't know, the body is still it is still, and then it's like when you're taking something to your father or something within the long run. But then the other thing is that I think the competition is also so much on how best the other is advanced to the other. In relation, like you said, now this is Flash running over the other ones, and before you know it, the other one would see how Flash does the running, and then they also adapt that to
and I think they have different companies that make these different robots. So a company may have a greater technology compared to the other. So you may find when these different robots, humanoid robots have different sets of developments. So I think that's according to the performance. So them by doing this, they're actually able to see how how the different technologies they've put in producing or in setting up a particular robot has been able to get there. So for them, it's like now they're testing. It's like a testing process for them. So now they've been able to see that, okay, now Flash has outdone all these different humanoid robots. So what did we put in Flash that was unique?
Yes.
So China. So you may see it at a lighter point of it, but there is more depth to all these innovations that are being.
And I'm really finding it hard to see sense in this. I don't know why. Do you? Because help me draw that sense, because I'm really finding it so hard to understand this innovation. Maybe you did.
No, the humanoid robots have always existed. They help with dishes for the rich. The rich do have. They help with everything.
For the rest.
I think they are just trying to show how diverse they are.
Okay.
Exactly. So now you know that you can rely on your robot in case you have to send it somewhere. Like now it is very much.
Oh, not specifically to run, but to
now you know how efficient it can be.
Okay.
Exactly. So
in case you want to send it somewhere,
you see how diverse it can be. So that is majorly the purpose for all this for concept was. Yes. That is what we had today in our science and technology, a quite an interesting concept. We have a humanoid robot taking on a marathon, half marathon with humans that was in Beijing over the weekend. That was on 19th of this month. And of course, we saw a robot taking up or hitting the records as emerging the winner. And that particular robot was called Flash, just like the movie Flash. Well, that's what we had today in our edition of New Day. We're going to be summing up the show with this last segment. And before we leave, I would just like to remind you of the different programs and campaigns that we have right here on TV1. We have the Beauty in Slums pageant. That is a beauty pageant. As a, I'm a pageant queen. So for the pageant, pageantry, there is a way pageantry grooms a girl. There are different traits that it gives to a particular individual. So Beauty in Slums pageant, it is right here. It's a campaign run by TV1. So you pick up your registration forms right at TV1 offices. The registration is free, or you can call on the number that's down there on the screen. Yes, that is for Beauty in Slums. And then we also have a UG talent, or you have UG talent. This you shine, you can able to come and showcase your different talents. Let it be singing, let it be dancing, let it be acting, let it be stand-up comedy. You can just come as well to TV1 offices and pick up the forms, or call on those toll-free numbers. That those are numbers, they're not toll-free. The numbers that are that have been displayed down on the screen.
But by the way, I wanted to ask something about beauty in slums. Does it really call for beauty? Does it specify?
It is not beauty. Beauty pageants are not about beauty.
Okay.
That's the misconception people have. Beauty pageants are pageantry is about beauty with brains. What do you add to your community?
How you reflect.
Exactly. What do you add to your community? It does not have to. You don't have to. Doesn't have to be a pretty face. It has to be a pretty face that has momentum.
Yes, with momentum.
With exactly brilliance. What do you add to the people around you? How compassionate are you? It's not even just the how bright you are. It's how compassionate you are.
Yes.
How willing are you to help? So that is how pageantry is. It brings all those different aspects. Oh, that is what beauty is.
And the other thing, should I okay, must it be that I must be from slums? Is it
with this particular one, of course, it is beauty in slums, but of course, if your slum, your slum is Muyenga, you can of course come. Like, no one is going to test you away. Okay, yes. If your slum is Muyenga, if you feel like, oh, I stay in Muyenga, and that's if to you have had it
slum,
like you feel like you should do better, you can be in a better place. Like, it's really okay. It's not limited, but it's majorly put out there, because we have beauty pageants that are a bit of maybe costly, or people perceive them as costly. But so Beauty in Slums has been laid out there for the common, the common ground. A girl that's out there, maybe in Katanga. I'm sorry for Katanga people. I'm really sorry.
Katanga.
But yeah, no, I'm not necessarily saying Katanga, but for the people that are down on ground. Yes.
Even the UG talent. Do we necessarily require, must it be something so special about the talent? Must I?
That's the point of talent. You want to just come and stand up, but that's why I said it has to be diverse. You can do stand-up comedy, you can dance, you can sing. You can if your talent is eating, if you can eat like Flash in 1 second, you finished a whole loaf of bread. I don't know if you feel like it's your talent, but you welcome all the different talents. You can express all the talents, anything you feel like you are special at doing that someone else. Let it be poetry, let it be public speaking, anything that you are very much good at. A talent, we all know what a talent is. Something that makes you unique from the people around you. That is all welcome here. Yes. But I think we'll be wrapping up our show with all that being said. Don't forget Beauty in Slums, and then UG Kids, and of course catch us up tomorrow at the same time from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. with New Day. We'll be having different stories that are running the world, as well as segments. Stay tuned on TV1. We have Skilling Uganda coming up next.